Welcome, everyone. We're going to do a little tapping today on removing judgments about our feelings. And this is something so dear to my heart. And before I introduce it, I just want to introduce you to the space. Those of you on Facebook, YouTube, this is what's called the community room at Namaste Village. It's just a room where things happen, meditations, little groups and gatherings, and there's beautiful pictures. A lot of the artwork is done by people who live here and people around the neighborhood. So I want you to feel included and connected to what we're doing here, and you're part of the community officially. So you can always visit, but right now we're all together. So this is a topic very dear to my heart because as a coach that specializes in emotional healing, I noticed that just about every human being has had their emotions invalidated as a child. There are certain emotions that it wasn't safe to express or even to feel. And for many of us, anger, oh my God, we couldn't get angry. And what happens to anger when it's not allowed to be honored and felt is that it goes into the shadows and becomes anger at self. It becomes guilt. So that's anger when it's judged as bad or wrong or inappropriate. That's what happens. We start turn all that energy towards ourselves. So, and then fear, what happens when our parents or our culture says it's not okay to feel fear? Well, that it goes right into the cells of our body, and we have this constant anxiety, but we have a self-image, I'm cool, everything's fine. And so we don't get to access our courage because we're not willing or able to access our fear. So saying yes to fear allows us to express courage, and that's a beautiful thing. Courage means from the heart. It's a French word, of the heart, whatever. And then sadness, grief. When we weren't allowed to feel that, and we started to internalize our parents or our culture's judgments about I shouldn't be sad, what happens is that grief, again, because emotions are energy in motion. And when you don't let them move, that energy just goes into the body and it just settles there, and sadness becomes depression. Sadness becomes hopelessness, despair, that kind of thing. So, and then the other feeling that is very commonly judged as taboo in our culture is joy. Oh my, a lot of people don't get, old generation, we're not very comfortable with their children being so wild and free and happy, uninhibited and celebrational, and look at me. That energy was seen as ego, it was seen as threatening by people. And so we started to dilute and judge happy, carefree feelings. So we're going to do some tapping to just remove all these judgments. And the first thing we're going to do is sing a song that I wrote. Yay me! I want to let life touch me. Want to let life move me deep. Want to let life stir me from an ancient sleep. Want to let life touch me. Want to let life move me deep. Want to let life stir me from an ancient sleep. Ooh. May I laugh all my laughter, may I cry all my tears, may I love the rain as deeply as the sun when it clears. May I laugh all my laughter and cry all my tears, may I love the rain as deeply as the sun when it clears. Living my life with an open heart, living my life with an open heart. I happen to believe, or maybe it's just my experience, that the more I allow all my emotions to be free to roam, to move, the more I experience my heart being open. And that's what that song is about. May I laugh all my laughter, cry all my tears. May I feel rage, anger, grief, sorrow, jealousy, all the range of human experiences, because all of them lead to love. They all lead to an ocean of aliveness. And you don't necessarily have to take them seriously. You don't have to justify them with stories in your head. I'm just talking about feelings. Nothing more than feelings. Trying to embrace my... All right, let's start tapping. So get in touch, if you can, with both if there are any feelings going on for you, and just even like revisit your past and see if you have the awareness of what feelings were not allowed in your family of origin. What feelings were no-no. And some of us on a spiritual path continue the tradition by finding spiritual traditions that reinforce the idea that anger is bad. All of these spiritual traditions that try to transcend your humanity to awaken to your divinity. That's why we need shadow work, because pushing all that stuff down creates what I call a badass shadow. And much better to bring it all up to the light. So let's just do it. Enough talk. Even though my feelings were judged as a child, you can say it or just feel it. Even though my feelings were squashed as a child, I choose to love and accept myself and all my feelings. Even though it didn't feel safe to feel and express certain feelings as a child, I choose to love and honor myself and all of my emotions. Even though I've been taught to stay up in my head and analyze my feelings and not actually feel them, I choose to really love, honor, and accept myself and all of these feelings, these messy, uncontrollable, but beautiful expressions of aliveness. All right. I am a human being. And whether I like it or not, I have feelings. And yes, I have some judgments about my feelings. Feelings that are appropriate, feelings that are not appropriate, feelings that are spiritual, and feelings that come from ego and are so not cool. And I'm willing to release judgments to drop into my body and say, yes, it's okay. It's okay to be angry at times. My anger doesn't need to be expressed and acted out. But when I welcome it and feel it in my body, it often leads to passion, conviction, better boundaries with others, even better boundaries with myself. I welcome the angel of anger and the gifts that it has to bring me. I welcome sadness and grief, hurt and sorrow. I welcome the beauty of my tears and how, when fully felt, sadness leads to peace. The way a thunderstorm clears the air, everything feels more alive. I welcome sadness as the great cleansing agent that it's designed to be. Releasing the judgment that there's something wrong with me if I'm sad. Releasing the judgments that I can't let people see me in grief. That I have to keep it to myself. Or maybe even talk myself out of it. Because what if I allow this sadness and it's a never-ending storm? What if I end up wallowing in it? I'm supposed to get over it, aren't I? Put on a happy face. And I'm letting all of that judgment go. And welcoming my sadness as an angel that opens my heart and cleanses my heart of all toxins and judgments. I welcome fear in all of its forms. Anxiety, shortness of breath, tension in my belly, wherever. I welcome fear as an experience in my body, an emotion that wants to move through me. I release my judgments that I shouldn't be afraid. I release all judgments that it's not spiritual. To feel fear, and especially to show fear. To say, I'm experiencing some fear right now. Sometimes it's hard enough to admit it to myself, let alone to admit it to others. Because of all this shame that I've had around fear. And I'm releasing that shame. Clearing the judgments. Because fear, when celebrated, it leads to greater aliveness. In fact, fear is just excitement without oxygen. When I breathe into fear, I can step forward into courage. I can take actions while I'm trembling. And that just brings so much life and love into my body. I welcome fear as the angel that it is, helping me to be human, to have forgiveness for being human, to have a sense of humor about fear, letting go of this judgment that fear and anxiety are a sign that there's something wrong with me. That anxiety is a sign that I need to be diagnosed. That anxiety is something to be treated with a pill. Forget about it. I welcome my fear and anxiety. I breathe into it. Come my way, fear. I'm not afraid of you anymore. I'm not ashamed of you anymore. I love you. Sit at the table, let's have some chow. And finally, I welcome joy and joy and joy. More joy than was ever comfortable for my parents to experience. You know, they had a joy threshold. For the most part, their job was to survive. And maybe when they saw me thriving and being happy-go-lucky, they wanted to put a lid on it because it reminded them of the freedom that they sacrificed, the joy that they had shut down to survive in the world. I forgive and release these judgments. The judgment that there is such a thing called a joy threshold. That if I let myself be too wild and free, I might be punished. There might be a fun police, and I might end up being punished for being my truly wild and joyful self. I welcome my truly wild and joyful self to splash colors on the page, outside of the lines and boxes, outside of the limits of this insane world, where depression is seen as normal, and ecstatically joyous people are diagnosed with something instead of celebrated. I choose to celebrate myself, my joy, my aliveness. All of these feelings are a blessed part of my journey. I welcome them all in body, mind, and spirit. Thank you for joining us in this wonderful, blessed tapping. I know I'm going to be tapping along to this a lot. Take care and sweet dreams.